When a farmer discovered the tiniest puppy he had ever seen, he thought it was just a fragile newborn fighting to survive. But when the vet examined him, she found something chilling hidden inside his body. And the words on that note forced her to call the FBI immediately. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The morning sun spilled across the quiet farmyard as Daniel, a humble farmer, bent down to check a whimpering sound near the haystack. At first, he thought it was a mouse or injured bird, but then his eyes widened. In the palm of his rough hand lay the tiniest puppy he had ever seen, no bigger than a chicken egg. Its fragile body trembled, its squeaks barely audible. Daniel's heart clenched. How could something so small even survive? Determined to give it a chance, he wrapped the pup gently in his scarf and made a single decision. This one needed a vet. Daniel hurried into the small-town clinic, the bundle in his arms trembling with every breath. Dr. Hayes, the local veterinarian, looked up from her desk, her expression softening when she saw the tiny creature. "My goodness," she whispered, carefully lifting the pup from Daniel's scarf. Its heartbeat was rapid, fragile, like a ticking clock running out of time. She placed it gently on the examination table, her trained hands gliding over its minuscule body. Something felt odd. The puppy was weak, yes, but not in the way of a premature birth. Its belly was unusually firm, and when Dr. Hayes leaned closer, her brow furrowed. "Have you noticed anything strange?" she asked Daniel. He shook his head quickly, worry clouding his face. Dr. Hayes decided on an X-ray, her instincts gnawing at her. Moments later, as the image developed, she froze. Something inside the tiny pup didn't belong. Dr. Hayes leaned closer to the glowing X-ray, her pulse quickening. Within the puppy's tiny body was a faint shadow, a shape too deliberate to be natural. She turned back to the exam table, her fingers parting the pup's thin fur. That's when she saw it. Tiny, almost invisible stitches along the soft belly. Her stomach tightened. This wasn't from birth. Someone had operated on this fragile creature before it ever reached Daniel's farm. The thought made her chest ache. Who would do such a thing to something so innocent? Daniel's voice cracked. "What's wrong with him?" Dr. Hayes hesitated, torn between honesty and fear of alarming him. "There's something inside," she finally admitted, her eyes never leaving the stitches. The room seemed to grow colder. Whatever had been placed in that puppy wasn't meant to be found. And yet, here it was, demanding to be uncovered. With steady hands, Dr. Hayes prepared for delicate surgery. Daniel hovered anxiously nearby, his knuckles white as he clutched his hat. The tiny puppy lay under gentle anesthesia, its chest rising and falling in fragile rhythm. Every movement of the scalpel felt like a race against time. Carefully, she followed the faint line of stitches, opening the incision millimeter by millimeter. Then, something metallic gleamed beneath the tissue. Her heart thudded. With tweezers, she lifted a small capsule, sealed tightly, no bigger than a fingernail. "What is that?" Daniel whispered, his voice shaking. Dr. Hayes didn't answer. Immediately, she placed the capsule on a sterile tray, her hands trembling as she pried it open. Inside, folded with eerie precision, was a tiny strip of paper. Her eyes scanned the first words, and the color drained from her face. Whatever message had been hidden inside this helpless puppy was never meant to be read. Dr. Hayes unfolded the fragile slip of paper, her fingers trembling. The handwriting was cramped, rushed, but every word carried a weight that made her stomach twist. "If you are reading this, someone is in danger. They are watching. Do not trust anyone." Her eyes darted across the rest of the message, coordinates scribbled at the bottom, alongside a date only days away. The note wasn't random. It was a warning. Daniel's brow furrowed. "What does it say?" Dr. Hayes hesitated, her throat tight. She couldn't shake the feeling that speaking the words aloud might put them both at risk. Still, she whispered the chilling lines. Daniel paled, his hands trembling as he stared at the puppy. Why would someone sew a desperate message into the body of such a fragile creature? And more importantly, who had written it? Knowing only the right person would ever find it? The clinic was silent except for the faint beeping of monitors. Dr. Hayes gripped the note in her hand, her pulse racing. Every instinct screamed that this was bigger than her. If the message was real, Someone's life could depend on it. Daniel leaned forward, voice low and urgent. Doc, what do we do? His calloused hands trembled, still clutching his hat. She looked at the puppy, stitched up and fragile, then back at the coordinates scribbled in shaky ink. Whoever wrote this had chosen desperation over safety. It wasn't just a clue, it was a cry for help. Dr. Hayes exhaled sharply, her mind made up. We can't ignore this. If what's written here is true, danger is closer than we think. With shaking fingers, she reached for the phone and dialed a number she'd never expected to call in her life. 3 letters that changed everything. FBI. The phone call set everything into motion faster than Daniel or Dr. Hayes could have imagined. Within an hour, black SUVs pulled up outside the small clinic, their tinted windows reflecting the late afternoon sun. 2 sharply dressed agents stepped out, their expressions stern, purposeful. Dr. Hayes? One asked, flashing a badge. She nodded, holding the folded note with trembling fingers. They ushered her and Daniel into a private room, their voices low but firm. The puppy, still recovering, was placed carefully in a sterile carrier under federal protection. Daniel's chest tightened watching the tiny creature disappear behind a wall of suits and authority. The agents questioned every detail: when Daniel had found the pup, who might have had access, and whether they had seen anything suspicious in the area. Dr. Hayes answered as best she could, though the weight of the situation pressed harder with every word. Finally, one agent unfolded the note, scanning its contents with a grim expression. His jaw tightened. This isn't the first time we've seen something like this. Daniel froze. Dr. Hayes exchanged a horrified glance with him. If this wasn't the first time, what exactly had they stumbled into? The agent laid the note flat on the table, his eyes narrowing as he tapped the cryptic coordinates. This isn't random, he said. It's connected to a smuggling operation we've been tracking for months. Dr. Hayes felt her stomach twist. Smuggling? Through a puppy. The agent nodded grimly. Criminal groups have started using animals to transport information or contraband, believing no one would ever suspect. The stitches, the capsule, it's all part of their system. Someone on the inside risked everything to slip this message through. Daniel's hands balled into fists. That tiny pup was used like property. His voice broke with anger. The agent leaned closer. And the fact that you found him alive is nothing short of a miracle. Whoever planted this message wanted it discovered, but only by someone who cared enough to look deeper. Dr. Hayes glanced at the puppy's carrier through the window. The little dog stirred weakly, innocent eyes blinking open. He had no idea he had carried a secret powerful enough to involve the FBI. The room fell into heavy silence. Each of them realizing this fragile life had just uncovered a criminal network darker than anyone imagined. The FBI moved quickly, sealing the note in an evidence bag and dispatching a team to the coordinates scribbled at the bottom. Daniel and Dr. Hayes were left in stunned silence, the weight of what had been revealed pressing heavy on their shoulders. The smallest puppy, once thought too fragile to survive, was now recovering in a soft kennel at the clinic, swaddled in warm blankets. Nurses checked on him constantly, whispering gentle words as if he were a child. Daniel often sat nearby, guilt etched across his weathered face. All this time, he just needed someone to protect him, he murmured. Dr. Hayes placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. He was used, Daniel, but he's safe now. And he gave us a chance to stop something terrible. For the first time in days, Daniel exhaled. The puppy had been a victim, yes, but also the beginning of justice.